Broadway. Oh, I just hit this thing.
That's okay. I'll hit it too. Okay,
so we're here with Joe, Aaron, Reid, and you were just in If Then.
Yeah.
On Broadway, but you've also been in Ghost the Musical, Catch Me If You Can, Finian's Rainbow, Curtains, and Chicago, and you're in the Los Angeles version of Curtains also. And
Yes.
was that your first show, I think?
Curtains
maybe?
was my Broadway debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First question, what is the best advice you could give to an aspiring actor?
I guess the best advice would be something along the lines of keep working. And never feel like you've reached a place where you don't need to continue educating yourself and working on your craft. Because I think that the minute that you say, I'm as good as I will get, is the minute you start to get worse. So I think you have to constantly grow. And I also think that people will hear no a lot in their career. I've heard no a million times, and I think you have to try and find a place, as difficult as it may be, to find a place where you can let the no that you hear to fuel your desire to want to work harder and get better, as opposed to letting it defeat you and you wanting to sit at home and eat a bag of potato chips on the couch.
How are you liking London so far?
I really like London. It's very different. I don't know if you've seen my tweets, but their customer service is not their thing here. But other than that, and the weather too. Like what is it? It's the end of July right now, and the weather could be better. Summer in New York is amazing. So I spent 10 years with summer in New York, so I miss that. But London's a really cool city, and they have a really great scene here in terms of acting and actors and a community here. So I'm, just starting to kind of work my way into that and meeting people, and but I'm really enjoying it, and I love our house and our neighborhood, and we're close to a really big park. So and I have some friends who actually moved over from New York as well. So it kind of, when I get to hang out with them, it feels kind of like home.
That's good. What do you miss the most about New York?
A lot of things. The most? Oh, God. I don't know. I don't know what the most would be. I can throw out a couple things that I miss a lot. I miss, I think that there is I know like people say like, oh, New Yorkers, they're rude and but I don't find New Yorkers to be rude. I find New Yorkers to be actually very helpful. And I think that it's people who come in with the mentality that New Yorkers are rude, who expect New Yorkers to be rude, and they'll find a rude New Yorker. But I think New Yorkers are not rude. And here, being a New Yorker, so I see why people would think New Yorkers are rude, because here it's like, again, with my customer service thing, it's like they kind of do like a half-assed job with things, or they, it's your needs are not important or whatever. So then you kind of get a little New York on them, and then you're the asshole because you work on them. And it's like, I wouldn't have had to go New York on you if you had just done your job right in the first place. So I definitely miss that. Again, I miss the summers. I miss my friends. And what I miss a lot too is knowing exactly where I'm going.
Oh, yeah.
99% of the time. Here, I'm starting to kind of get an idea of where I'm going and what entrance to the tube, I guess, leads me where. But in New York, it was never a question. I just knew where I was going all the time. So I miss that. How
is your If Then experience?
Amazing. It was amazing. And it was a great, I think everything happens for a reason. And I think If Then came at the right time in my life. I was just about to get married. I was just about to have kids. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was just about to move to London. So you have this show that to me, and I think to many other people, was very poignant. And it beckons the question, what if? And, me sitting here Skyping with you in London, I'm like, well, what if I had not done the show? And what if I had not moved to London? What if I had not had kids? Where would my life be? And I don't know the answer to that. But I enjoy where I'm at. But I think that the show came at the right time, and I worked with the right people. And you're not always fortunate enough to get a cast that really feels like a family. And I still talk to many of my castmates very regularly, I would say. I mean, I still play Words with Friends with a lot of them. I still, like I still talk to them. Some of them are talking about coming over and visiting. So it's a very close knit group of people. And I think, with the timing of my life with the show, I think it just made it that much more special for me. So I feel very fortunate to have been a part of it.
What is your favorite thing about being a new father?
Ooh. Well, you know, um, I think it's, I never had, maybe people will think this is crazy, but I never had a pet growing up. And people always talk to me about, like pets, it's like unconditional love, like a dog always loves you. And I was always like, okay, that's kind of weird, but that's, whatever. And now I have, two children, and it's like they're crying and they're screaming, and you can just, kiss their neck, and it's as if none of that ever happened. The crying and the screaming never happened. It just, you're all that they have, and they love you, and they laugh, and their smile. It's just like you can't. I don't know. I can't necessarily put it all into words, but it's once you have it, you almost feel like, how could I ever not have had that? So I'm loving being a dad. And we've just started on solid food. Well, not solid food, I guess, like pureed baby food. And seeing food all over their face, and learning how to get it in their mouth, and it's, I don't know. I see now why our parents, they look at you, adoringly, and they're like, oh, my baby, my this, and now I'm like, oh, well, I get it now, because there's nothing I would not do for them.
Is it hard to be with them and to try and get auditions and being in shows?
Well, it depends. uh, we have been fortunate enough when we were living in New York. We left when they were 3 months. So when we were in New York, we had a great baby nurse. And so she lived with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well, I guess she was only 5 days a week there. And she took care of the kids. And whenever we had to go do something, we would go do it. And, it was what it was. Here we have a live-in au pair. So she's a young girl from Spain, and she's very, very sweet. And she helps us out a lot. And that allows me to, go to the gym, go see a friend if I need to, go see a show, go audition. I just had an audition today. So she stays with the kids, and I go. If something pops up and she can't be there, we have a couple of babysitter options that can always, pop in. And I never realized how hard it was to find childcare until you are faced with it for the first time, and you're like, oh my God, I need to find someone, So it's, with those people, it makes it possible. Now, trying to learn the material for the audition sometimes is a little harder because you have a screaming baby who doesn't really care that you're trying to memorize a song. So sometimes it can be trying, but it's good. It's good.
Have you seen like many shows or
over here in London?
Yeah, in London.
So I saw, what did I see? I saw The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. I don't know. It was really, really good. I saw opening night of Gypsy, and Imelda was fantastic. So if anyone can get over here to see it, I suggest they do, because she's great. I just went and saw The Book of Mormon. A friend of mine, Brian Sears, we did Finian's Rainbow together. And he's over here playing Elder Cunningham. Oh. So I got to see him and see him backstage and all that stuff. And he has a young daughter, so we have a play date on Friday. So the times have changed. But yeah, so I've seen that. And then we're actually going to see Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. My friends Mark and Scott wrote the music to it. So we're going to go see it on Thursday.
What is the difference between West End and Broadway? Or
West End and Broadway. Well, I guess it depends on kind of what you're. It depends on kind of what you're talking about. I feel like, for instance, as an actor, who if I were to go do a show, they do group warm ups here. So, in New York, the show is at 8. You have to be there by 7:30. Here, the show's at 7:30, and your call is 7, but the warm up starts at 6:15. So you have to be there a lot earlier, which in some ways I think it's kind of great that you're forced to warm up. In other ways, we're all professionals. I'm in my 30s. I've been doing this a long time. I kind of know what I need personally, but I haven't had to do it yet. So hopefully, in the coming months, I'll experience it, and maybe I'll have a different answer for you. And in terms of just watching shows, a lot of shows come over from the U.S. So you're watching a lot of Brits or Australians or, UK in general. You're watching a lot of people do American accents, which sometimes they're surprisingly good. And then other times you're like, oh, no, that's not going to work out for me. But so I guess it can occasionally be difficult to stay in the show depending on the accent. But if I have to do a British accent, I'm sure people could say the same thing. So I'm not hating on that. That's just a noticeable difference. And then I think too, the spaces. There's something about the spaces, the theaters here. I think in New York, a lot of the theaters are very big, and here it just they seem much more intimate. And it's not. It's like a show is a spectacle, but there's something about it in these theaters. It doesn't feel like a spectacle. It feels like an intimate piece of theater. In New York, you sit in a theater and the curtain comes up and it's like da 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 da, and here it just, I don't know, it feels different. But that just could be the houses that I've been in, so I don't know. But yeah, theater's very good here, very good.
Are there any shows on Broadway that are on Broadway like right now that you want to see?
Well, yes, I'd really like to see Hamilton. That's the one that everyone's kind of talking about, and it's in our old theater. So I'd really, really like to see that. And of course, it's doing so well, and hopefully the next time I get to New York, I will be able to see it. But there's a little piece of me that's hoping that it crosses over the pond, and maybe I'll get a chance to do it. So we'll see. And what else? There's American Psycho is coming. And it started here apparently, and I've heard nothing but great things about it. So that's one that I would like to get a chance to see as well. And then of course, my friends pop in and out of shows, and so I'd like to see things here and there, and I don't know. I don't know.
Would you fly back to the US to see one of the touring shows of If Then, if you could?
Specifically for that.
Well, I mean to also just like be back in New York and stuff like that. But
I think if there was a way that we were thinking about coming back to visit friends and family, and we could time it with the show being in a nearby place, then certainly. I don't see myself being like, oh, Minneapolis, let me book a ticket and let's go. Like that's not. But if we came back to New York, or my family's from Rochester, New York, so say they were playing Syracuse, and we were thinking about going back to see my family, then I would certainly go see it. Are you wearing a Nadina t-shirt?
I am. I went to go see the concert, and I was so excited.
Yeah. Did you like it?
It was amazing. I was so happy. I think she was still a little sick from a couple shows that she had done before, so she didn't stay as long.
I see.
But it was so much fun, and I got to meet a whole lot of people. I went to see it in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So,
very cool.
So that was really exciting, and I have a lot of friends that I met through If Then, or I met through Dina, or I met through Jen, and I
Uh-huh.
got to meet them at the show. So that was super exciting
Oh,
because I had never
cool.
met them before, which
Yeah, yeah,
most people shun upon because you should not be talking to people on the internet. But
yeah.
whatever, they're still my best friends
Whatever.
right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're like fans of theater people, you're not gonna do that much
I
harm.
don't.
But
Yeah, I don't. I feel like theater. You don't have many like psychopaths watching
yeah,
Broadway shows and obsessing
yeah.
over
Well,
that kind of stuff.
there's always the exception.
What is the process of recording an original cast album?
Well, I only know it from my point of view. So my point of view is, you show up, and oftentimes, especially in today's the way that musicals are written today, um, it's not as much about like a big song with a button, a big song with a button. It's a lot of like songs, you've heard the If Then one. It's a lot of songs that kind of go in and out of scenes and kind of weave around. And so with a lot of contemporary theater, there's a lot of like kind of cut and paste and snip and this and to kind of get it to be what they think they want it to be. It's a lot harder than you would think it would be because when you're doing a show, when you're performing in a show, you marry the movement of what you're doing with the vocals of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone says, okay, stop moving and just sing it, sometimes you'll forget the words, sometimes you'll forget your notes because you're not used to just standing still and singing. So you get a room full of people that are trying to put it all together without doing it how they normally would, and it's usually very early in the morning. Are you called? So that's a good time for a group warm up, but it's really fun because that whether your show is a hit, a flop, sells 2 copies or sells 20 million copies, it's history because it's being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what your show is and what the reviews are and whatever, you can always know that you are a part of Broadway history. Your voice is on an original cast recording. And I used to listen to cast recordings all the time as a kid. Like I was obsessed with cast recordings. And to think that out there are cast recordings with me on it that people are listening to and are becoming obsessed with. I'm just like, that's so crazy. And how full circle and how lucky am I to be able to have that experience. So it's one of the best experiences. It can be trying because it's usually a long day. But you're hanging out with your friends, you're making history, you're eating lunch, and if you're lucky, you get out at a reasonable time so you can hit a happy hour and have a drink. Like it's a really, really fun day. As long as you're in good health. If you're not in good health, then it's kind of like, okay, here we're recording and I have to like work around things. But I've been lucky enough to always be in pretty decent voice.
Do you have the albums on your phone that you're in?
I don't have it on my phone. No, no, I don't. But it's funny because there's sometimes a song will pop into my head and I think, oh, I'd want to hear that right now. And I'm like in the tube or the subway or wherever. And I'm just like, oh, that would be nice to hear right now. Or, oh, yeah, I remember that song. And so now when occasionally, actually, I wonder, hold on. I used to have, I don't know if it's going to be here or not, but no, it's not. There is one song that I used to have on my phone just because I loved, I mean, who doesn't love like Black Girls Belting? And it was Doctor's Orders from Catch Me If You Can.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one that I would never like choose to play it, but occasionally on shuffle it would come on and I'd always be like, yeah. It's cool. I mean, but when I do get to hear things that I've been a part of, that I've recorded, it's very exciting because you're like, wait, I know that. Why do I know that? I'm singing.
Okay, what is the process for fitting a wig and wig care during the show?
Ooh, wigs. So I'm trying to think. When they first are trying to get like the shape of your head, it's like they put like this. I don't know if it's like it's like saran, like a saran wrap thing. I'm trying to remember this right. It's like a saran wrap thing, and then they use like clear tape, and they just tape all the parts of your head over and over and over again. So that way they can take it off and there's a mold of your head. And so then, a couple weeks will go by before, and I didn't really know what I was like for If Then. I didn't really know what I was going to get. And so when I showed up and I saw these braids, I was like, stop right now. This is so cool, because I always wondered what I would look like with them, but never in my life would I ever be like bold enough to be like, I'm going to grow dreads. Like, that's just not what I would do personally, especially with my career, So I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be so fun. And I remember the first time I put it on and I was like, I look good. I guess like it's really, and that's really fun to like be able to see yourself look completely different in 2 seconds. And it's funny because a lot of people didn't know that it was a wig. So I would walk out of the stage door and people would be like, that was you? Like, did you cut your hair? And I was like, yes. In the middle of the show, I cut my hair off and I'm going to do it again tonight. You know what I mean? Like, so I always thought that was funny. But wig care, you have to be really good to your wigs because they're very fragile. And we had JT. She was the fantastic hair girl on If Then. And she'd pin me in before the show and make sure that I could like move around because it's a sign, you don't want your wig falling off during It's a Sign. And then she would meet me after and she would pop it off and then I wouldn't see it for the rest of the show. But she's the one that really took most of the care of it. I just tried to make sure that I wasn't, damaging it too much or,
What was it like being Steven towards the end of the run?
It was great. It was awesome. I mean, I didn't expect it. I didn't know that it was going to come. And when I found out that it was coming, I went to Jerry and I was like, why are you leaving? And he was like, I forget exactly what he said. And I was like, okay. Because the show's closing, right? Mm-hmm. And aside from the months that I took off for my paternity leave, I've been doing my track in the show, and I had gotten to do Steven one time in November, and so I was thinking to myself, okay, so now it's a little kind of bittersweet because I don't get to do my track again, but here I am with this great opportunity